So imagine you're watching an elder in your community, right? And they're handing a savory snack, like a vadai, to a wealthy landlord. The snack is already wrapped in a banana leaf and then wrapped again in paper. But the elder still has to carry it by this long string.
Because the landlord actually believes that if a marginalized person's hand so much as touches the string, the food inside becomes, fundamentally polluted.
Exactly. It's just wild to think about. But welcome to today's deep dive, tailored specifically for you. We're getting right into Bamiya's groundbreaking 1992 book, Karukku. And we should probably clarify right up front, this isn't your standard autobiography. I mean, an autobiography is usually like a single spotlight focused on one person's individual triumphs, right?
Right, whereas Karukku is a testimonial. It's a literary form born from marginalized groups where the writer basically turns on a massive floodlight to bear witness to collective trauma. She actively shifts the whole narrative from I to we.
Prioritizing the survival of the entire community over just one person's success.
Yeah, and she even writes it in the historically marginalized Dalit dialect.
And the word Dalit itself, that comes from a root meaning crushed or broken, doesn't it?
It does. But in this context, the source makes it clear this isn't just some label imposed by oppressors. It's actually a chosen political identity, like a collective declaration of rebellion against that crushing weight.
And you literally see that crushing weight built straight into the village's architecture. Like the caste system dictates a really rigid geography
Of exclusion, absolutely. The layout physicalizes the oppression. Public resources, so things like the school, the post office, the main shops, they are exclusively located on upper-caste streets. Meanwhile, Dalits are completely isolated on the outskirts in an area called the Sherry.
You can't even enter the upper caste areas unless, you're performing manual labor for the dominant classes.
Right, and they enforce this border with intense sensory trauma. Bama actually recounts upper-caste women pouring drinking water into the cupped hands of Dalit laborers from, 4 feet in the air.
Just to avoid any possible physical contact. I mean, how does a child even process a world where a string holding a wrapped snack supposedly transmits invisible pollution?
Well, the cognitive dissonance for a kid is just staggering. The physical space is basically telling you every single day that you are inherently contaminated.
So to find a way out of that physical maze, families obviously looked for an exit strategy, primarily through education, right? Bama's older brother, Annan, he insists that studying is the only way to earn basic human respect.
Right, so she studies frantically. But education isn't this clean escape hatch, At one point, she is falsely accused of stealing a coconut by her headmaster.
Oh, wow. Just completely fabricated.
Completely. She's publicly shamed in front of the entire school strictly because of her caste.
Which leads to the Catholic Church, which offered another supposed sanctuary. But reading through the source, it functioned with the exact same architecture of exclusion. She enters the convent to help educate poor Dalit children and discovers the church maintained entirely separate cemeteries based on caste.
Yeah, and inside the convent itself, the Dalit nuns are the ones cleaning the lavatories, while upper-caste converts get clear preferential treatment.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I'm genuinely confused here because the church's core brand is, universal equality. How on earth did they legally or socially justify maintaining separate cemeteries or enforcing caste roles inside a convent?
Well, according to the text, they prioritized institutional power over theology. To keep wealthy upper-caste converts in the pews and, keep their donations flowing, the church basically allowed them to preserve their social hierarchies.
So the spiritual equality was purely theoretical.
Exactly. The religious institution just mirrored the village.
Meaning the convent's vow of poverty is essentially a hollow performance for the upper-caste nuns. They get to play at being poor for spiritual clout, while the Dalit nuns endure actual systemic subjugation right inside the holy walls.
You hit the nail on the head. And when both sacred and secular safety nets completely fail like that, someone has to absorb the impact at the absolute bottom of the hierarchy. In Karukku, the book shows how it is the Dalit women who are trapped by a tightly interlocked triple oppression.
Let's break down the mechanics of how that trap actually works. So what does this all mean for them day to day?
Well, first, caste dictates that they must perform grueling agricultural labor. Then class ensures those wages remain at starvation levels.
And then gender adds the third layer. Meaning they...
They get paid significantly less, right. Gender dictates they're paid way less than Dalit men for the exact same labor, while they also absorb horrific domestic abuse from the men within their own marginalized community. The oppression just compounds at every level.
It creates an inescapable downward spiral. And the psychological toll of that compounding trap is captured perfectly in the book's title, right? Karukku. It refers to the serrated edge of a palmyra leaf.
Yeah. If you handle that leaf carelessly, it will slice your skin wide open. But the root of the word karu means seed or embryo. So the pain itself contains the blueprint for rebirth. It's a literal two-edged sword.
Bama's writing totally embodies this. It slices through the hypocrisy of the village and the church while also planting the seeds for a new Dalit consciousness.
Exactly. Writing this testimony wasn't just some literary exercise for her. It was a psychological survival mechanism.
Reclaiming her voice and her dialect was a mandatory act of community resistance.
She exposed the spatial control, the institutional hypocrisy, and that intersectional oppression, proving that speaking the collective truth is basically the first step to dismantling the architecture of exploitation.
Which leaves us with this final thought. If Bama's storytelling acted as a floodlight and a serrated leaf against the physical geography as exclusion in 1992, how might the digital algorithms you interact with today be subtly drawing new invisible lines of segregation? And what modern voices will it take to shatter those borders?